There's nothing wrong with using the mind and trusting God. There's everything wrong with trusting the mind and using God. And that makes a practical difference. Now, does God not like cities? Is that what the message is? Now listen carefully in case you misunderstand me. God is very interested in cities. Just listen to this. Now, this is something you don't learn in the Old Testament. But it's an analysis of Abram's motivation given in the New Testament. I'm going to read it to you. It's in Hebrews 11. For Abraham was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. Then he goes through the other patriarchs and says, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. God is absolutely for cities. And it's not a question of which city you live in. It's a question of which city you live for. Daniel lived in Babylon. Abram left it. But the secret of Daniel's life was he lived for the city, which is what? The foundations. And now we come near to what's going on here. And life's journey was a following God, as God said, come, and invited the man to leave that city on those foundations. Not to give up the idea of a city, but to think around conceptually about a totally new kind of city. Organized life, but organized around basic principles like that of trusting God. And I want to emphasize that at the beginning today, that Abram's faith was not blind. It was not based on no evidence. He'd had evidence building up constantly until this point. He had as yet no evidence that he would ever produce a child. But he had every evidence that God was trustworthy. And that is utterly crucial. That we realize that whatever the Christian faith is, it is not blind belief. It is commitment based on solid evidence. And part of it is, of course, the story of Abraham. For what does Scripture say? Abram believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness. We need to be absolutely clear that works and faith are regarded as opposites. Faith is not a work. It is not a contribution to salvation. And it's this that brings peace with God, the realization that receiving salvation is not contributing to salvation. Receiving God's gift. And it was that transformed the life of Abram.